Hello students. So today we will discuss another important chapter, that is biological membrane. So biological membrane is the outermost structure that gives the shape of a cell, and it protects it from external evils. So this is biological membrane. Now we'll go to the details of structure and function of biological membrane. So actually, what is the function of biological membrane? It defines the cell boundary or individuality. Internal membrane define a variety of cell organelles. It allows for passage of vital materials in and out of the cell, and it defines the difference between the ECF and ICF. So these are the all function of cell membrane. So general and common attributes of biological membrane. Basically, first it was introduced that it is a bilayer structure, but actually it is not. It's a seat-like structure having close boundaries, but this structure proved wrong on the long run. Now the structure has got two bilayer, so polar head area it is facing outside, and polar head that is facing inside the cell. So polar area are mostly likes the water. So in the ECF and ICF, there are several water molecules. So these polar head groups are easily form hydrogen bond with ICF water molecule or ECF water molecule. So in between this polar area, there is a non-polar region. This is non-polar tail region. This is non-polar tail region. So this is a bilayer structure. There are two layers of lipid. This is polar head group that is facing to the outward, that is ECF, extracellular fluid. It interacting with the H2O of ECF, and this is this is the polar head group that are facing to the ICF. This is the bilayer structure of cell membrane. Now this cell membrane is made up of lipid, protein, and carbohydrate. So lipid, protein, and carbohydrate, all biomolecules are present in this cell membrane. Now, first come to the lipid. So membrane lipids are basically amphipathic. What is amphipathic? You know, it contains both polar and non-polar group. So these are amphipathic groups. Having polar and non-polar moieties, this organization automatically forms a closed bilayer structure in an aqueous medium. So membrane lipids are basically amphipathic. We're looking at the phosphatidyl ethanolamine. Here, the fatty acid tail. These are non-polar area, and this is a polar zone. So these are polar head area. This is representing, this part is representing as yellow head, and these two straight chairs of fatty acid, that is non-polar tail. So membrane lipids are basically phospholipid in nature. They are amphipathic, containing both polar and non-polar groups. So polar head group and non-polar tail group. It is elaborated again. So the straight two chain that are not non-polar fatty acid regions here, they are actually forming cis double bond. This cis double bond helps to close packaging of these amino acids, close packaging of these fatty acids. So there are cis double bond uh, in the non-polar tail region. So one of the tail is a straight chain fatty acid, that is saturated fatty acid. The other has a kink in the tail because of this cis double bond. This is unsaturated. So one fatty acid is saturated, another fatty acid is unsaturated. This unsaturated fatty acid having a cis double bond. So this double bond produces a kink that helps in the packaging and the movement of the lateral plane of the membrane. This is very vital because this movement helps in the membrane fluidity. The presence of this cis double bond prevents tight packaging and makes the bilayer difficult to freeze. So what is the important? One is the saturated fatty acid, another is unsaturated fatty acid in this non-polar tail area. So one is saturated straight chain fatty acid, another is unsaturated. What is the type of unsaturation? It is cis double bond. What is the cis double bond? It forms a king. If there is a king, so there is a, it will prevent the tight packaging or close packaging of this bilayer so that it cannot get freezed. Now coming to the protein. So they have the lipid membrane have got specific protein which are the functions. They act the PAM, channel receptor, energy transducer, and enzyme. So you are looking. This is lipid bilayer with fluid mosaic nodule. Actually, this is lipid bilayer. This is polar head group, and in between polar head groups, is non-polar tailings. Now look at the protein molecules. They are colored red here. So this is transmembrane protein. Transmembrane protein means it presents along the whole length of the membrane. And these are basically peripheral proteins, either outer surface or inner surface of the membrane. So protein molecules are present within this lipid bilayer. So lipid, proteins, and carbohydrates are held together by several non-covalent interaction. So membranes have an inside-outside asymmetry. The inside and outside surface of the biological membrane are always different. So it will give rise to what? It will have to potential difference or gradient that will help in different types of physiological phenomena like action potential. So membrane are basically fluid in nature. The lipid bilayer gives the membrane its fluid character. At low temperature, the bilayer is in gel state and tightly packed. At higher temperature, the bilayer actually melts, and the interior of the fluid allowing the molecule to move around, rotate, exchange places. This also allows the movement of other components of the membrane. So basically, this is a fluid-like structure. So why it is fluid? Because due to the movement of the phospholipid molecules. If there is movement of the phospholipid molecules, then they will flow, allowing the molecules to move around, rotate, exchange places. So this is the nature of fluid of this membrane. Now, at low temperature, it looks like a gel-like phase. So hydrocarbons are tightly packed, and at higher temperature, it moves the fluid phase. If the higher temperature, actually external energy was supplied from the external source, and the phospholipids molecules are getting energy, they are excited, and they have increased their motion. So this is a Brownian movement like motion increase. So intermolecular distance is increased. So lipid bilayer melts and movement is allowed. So these are the two phases. One is gel phase at low temperature, and this is melting phase at higher temperature. It is occur at normal temperature, human normal temperature, more or less 37 degrees centigrade. So what is the role of cholesterol? The cholesterol actually maintains the fluidity of the membrane. It immobilizes the first few hydrocarbon groups of the phospholipid molecule. This makes the lipid bilayer less deformable, thus decrease the permeability to small water molecules. And cholesterol prevents the crystallization of the hydrocarbon and the phase shift in the membrane. So fluidity is actually maintained by cholesterol. Now, what is the role of carbohydrate and protein? Carbohydrates mainly serve cell-to-cell recognition molecule and membrane receptor. Proteins make the pump receptor, etc. Are also their amphipathic, can be integral or peripheral in nature. So this is the schematic diagram of a cell membrane. Lipid bilayer is there. So yellow heads are phospholipid polar heads, and these are the black and white, the hydrophobic polar non-polar tails in between. And these are the transmembrane proteins. Yellow, these green colors are transmembrane along the whole length of the membrane. And this is peripheral protein present on the outer surface or inner surface only. And the red colors are basically carbohydrate moiety, carbohydrate group of glycoprotein. They actually act as a what? They actually act as receptor or recognition molecule. So now very important part, what is the role of membrane? They actually helps in defense of the body, define body fluid compartment. So this is the schematic diagram. This is intercellular space, the extracellular space or interstitium there. So these black areas are cell membrane. So they actually form the cell, defines the fluid compartment. Now, membrane permeability. Biological membranes are selectively permeable. They allow passage of some molecule but not others. The selectivity is important for maintenance of ion concentration gradient between ICF and ECF and membrane potential. So this is a table that's showing the content of ECF, ICF. So there is a gradient exists. Sodium is more in the outer compartment, less in the inner compartment. Potassium is more in inner compartment but lesser in outer compartment. Calcium is highest in ECF and very little calcium is present in ICF. Similar to the chloride, and glucose is almost 5 times more in ECF than ICF. So there is a gradient. So there is a difference between the concentration of different ions and different molecules due to the selective permeability of this nature. Now, chemical that can pass through the membrane very easily. Most of the polar compound chemical and smaller chemicals are passed through water, carbon dioxide, oxygen, small polar molecule, lipids such as cholesterol. But chemical cannot pass all ions, including hydrogen ion, mild to large polar molecules, including glucose, amino acid, macromolecule protein, polysaccharides, etc., cannot pass through this membrane. Now, we are coming to the membrane transport. Membrane transport can be classified into two parts. Basically, what is transport? It is the passage of any molecule, uh, passage of any molecule across the membrane. That is called membrane transport. What is membrane transport? It is the passage of any molecule through this membrane is called membrane transport. There are two types of membrane transport. One is passive mechanism, another is active mechanism. Now, if you consider passive mechanism, simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion. Simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion, where energy is not required. In facilitated diffusion, again two types, simple protein channel, ungated, and gated channel. An active transport, here energy is required. This active transport via pumps, then endocytosis, phagocytosis, exocytosis. There are several types. Now, what is passive mechanism? Passive mechanism is in favor of concentration gradient. It does not require any kind of energy. So, example is ion channels. Ions are usually transported across the membrane by different mechanisms via ion channels of different types. Ungated ion channels, it provides actual hole through which the ions can diffuse across the membrane. No binding takes place. Few are open all the time. Thus are ungated. Typically, cells having ungated potassium, potassium ungated chloride channel. So, ungated channel does not have any gate. So, membrane any ion can cross through these ion channels. The typical example are potassium and chloride. Other than these two important ions, sodium, calcium do not have ungated ion channels but only move through the gated ion channel. So next is gated ion channel. There are several kinds of gate. First one is voltage gate. Ion channels that operate or close in response to changes in the membrane potential or voltage are termed as voltage gated. So voltage gated channels are those channels, they are actually open or closed due to alteration in the membrane potential. They are especially important for sodium, calcium, potassium, chloride channel, which provides split second regulation in nervous system and muscle. Next is ligand gated. Many ion channels are ligand gated. They open in response to binding of an extracellular or intercellular regulatory molecule like acetylcholine receptor found in the membrane skeletal muscle cells. These open in response to neurotransmitter acetylcholine released by the neurons that cause muscle contraction. These ion channels have 5 subunits, which is a characteristic of an important class of neurotransmitter receptor in the brain. Then mechanically gated. Ion channels that open in response to mechanical movement of an adjacent structure include touch sensor in the skin, vibration sensor in the inner ear, and the response to sound. Most hollow organs such as bladder, intestine, heart have strict sensor that responds to the expansion of the organ. So actually, mechanically, when they are get deformed or altered in their structure, they are opened or closed. So they are called mechanically gated. Now temperature gated. They are found in sensory neuron in the skin, mucous membrane, and they open and close with the changes in the temperature. Naturally leads to sensation of warm and cold. Some temperature gated ion channels are interesting because some plants contain molecules that open them despite the fact they are normally temperature gated, not ligand gated. Now, facilitated transport system. Facilitated diffusion basically depends upon a transporter. Basically, it is a diffusion, so no requirement of energy is here, and molecules are moving in favor of their concentration gradient, that is from the area of large concentration to the area to the smaller concentration, and one transporter molecule is required here. Facilitated diffusion is based on transporter that must specifically bind to the substance to be transported. The binding causes a conformation change which allows the transported substance to be released to the other side of the membrane. So in facilitated diffusion, E is provided by the concentration gradient of substance transported. If the concentration of substance is highest outside the cell than inside, the substance moves inward and vice versa. Note that no energy is required here in case of facilitated diffusion. Due to specific binding step, a facilitated transport can saturate it if the concentration of transported substance becomes high enough. Once this happens, no further increase in the rate of transport can occur since all the bindings are occupied with the molecules, transporter molecule. Now, the typical example is glucose transporter, that is GLUT, GLUT, GLUT 5, 6, etc. The glucose transporter is an example for this kind of facilitated diffusion. When more insulin is present, more of the transporter are found in the membrane cell, such as those in the muscle. As a result, more glucose moves into the muscle cell. Insulin causes more vesicle containing glucose transporter to fuse with the plasma membrane. So this is a schematic diagram how glucose transportation occurs with the help of insulin. Now, second is co-transporter. That is, co-transporter is always needed. That is uniport and symport. What is uniport? When uniport, one molecule travels bidirectionally. One molecule travels bidirectionally. That is called uniport. Then co-transport are two types: symport and antiport. Symport, where two molecules traveling the same direction, and antiport, two molecules going in opposite direction, therefore antiport. So co-transporter are basically uniport, symport, and antiport. Co-transporter are similar to those of facilitated diffusion. In specific binding take place, no ATP is required. The different types of substance must bind at the same time before co-transport can take place. This requirement of two substances must be transported together that create consideration in energetic expenditure. The free energy driving the transporter is the sum of free energies for both the substance. The net result determines the direction. Example is glucose and sodium. This small intestine, when the glucose is binding to its receptor, that is GLUT receptor, in adjacent sodium will be also bind to the sodium receptor. Binding of these two molecules at the same time, it will facilitate the diffusion of glucose and sodium into the cell. This is actually import type of co-transporter. Now, what is active transport? It's the specific binding site having to the transport molecule, but ATP is required here, and here the molecule is moving against the concentration gradient from the gradient lower concentration to the higher concentration. Like sodium potassium ATPase pump present nearly every cell. It pumps 3 sodium ions out of in exchange for 2 potassium ions pumped in. There are several other ion pumps also, calcium ATPase, hydrogen ATPase, all are requiring energy. So this is active transport sodium potassium ATP pump here. The schematic diagram. So 2 molecules of potassium comes out and 3 molecules of sodium goes in next and requires 1 molecule of ATP. So this is a typical example of active transport. Transport of macromolecule across the cell. So we are discussing macromolecules like endocytosis, pinocytosis, phagocytosis, and exocytosis. In endocytosis, the cell engulfs some of its extracellular fluid, including material dissolved in or suspended in it. A portion of the plasma membrane is invaginated and pinched off, forming a membrane-bound vesicle called endosome. Exocytosis is the reverse. So, endo and exocytosis. This is plasma membrane, vesicle, extracellular fluid. Endocytosis, where it is going in. Cytosis, it comes out. On the phagocytosis means ingestion of particular matter that a bacteria forms here. The endosome is the large that is called a phagosome or vacuole. Phagocytosis occur only in certain specialized cells like neutrophil, macrophage, etc. Pinocytosis. Pinocytosis is also called cell drinking. The drop water engulf is relatively small, occurs in almost all cells. It occurs continuously. So these are all related to our cell membrane and membrane transport. Thank you.